delicious chocolate cake if you want to just skip the food part, and drinks over on the side. It's so wonderful to see so many of you here today. I think it's indicative of what our topic is. And so I'd like to just go ahead. My name, in case you don't know, my name is Kathy Swerdlow, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Seminole County. We always start with the pledge, so please rise and join me in pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then we always have any electeds or government officials introduce themselves. So you're standing, Lee.
I'm Lee.
One of the Board of County Commissioners. And we have
Grant Malloy, Clerk of the Court, Comptroller, and I have Jenny Spencer as the Comptroller Director for my office.
And we also have Beatrice the Clicker.
Just go. You want me to just start?
No, I want you to.
Oh, no, I'm going to introduce them.
So this is a... And, oh, Jim, yes. And Robin, member of the school board. Anybody else? Any candidates? Okay, great. If I look like I'm a little frazzled, that's because I am. But this was a topic that we really felt needed some time to listen and hear what's going on as we talk about the budget. Because when we talk about the budget, we're talking about our taxes. And, you know, whereas no one likes to pay more, I certainly don't mind paying for the services that I consider to be absolutely vital to the lifestyle that we have here in Seminole County. And so, you know, you have to kind of play those two things against each other, and you only can do that when you have valid information. And so I'm so happy that both Commissioner Constantine and the Clerk of the Court, Grant Malloy, agreed to come, and then we got extra bonus people as well, which we will introduce. So I'm going to let it go kind of free form. Lee's going to talk for about 15 minutes, and then Grant's going to talk for about 15 minutes, and if they haven't answered the questions that I have on my list, I'll ask those, and then we'll go to questions from the floor. So Lee?
Thank you very much, and all of you, you know, it's good to see every one of you, and thank you very much for all the service that you do for this community, because each and every one of you are I know, doing something that's extremely important within this community. I do have two very special people here with me today. One is the person behind all of these numbers, and he doesn't like to get out of his office very often, but Tim Jiggs is our budget director for the county. He does everything, projections, future, current. He's the one that analyzes the budget, goes through it line item by line item with every single director of the departments, all of which don't like him usually after he finishes with them, and then he, you know, then start liking him when he gets it passed through us. So, you know, so now you know who does all of this, okay? Also, on my left, your right, is Beatrice Flores. And if you don't know Beatrice, she's the one that runs my office. She has been with me for 16 years.
Wow.
And she works for the county. First, she was with, many of you know of my big charity challenge. She was with Charity Challenge for many years, and then about 3 years ago came over to the county and has just become a marvel, of which everybody in the county now says, you know, how long have you been here? They think she's been there 16 years. She's already running the show. But if you ever call my office, and many of you do, she's the one that you're going to talk to, and she's the one that will usually solve the problem before, and then tell me what happened. So just to let you know all of that. I had the real privilege today of kind of going through this budget and explaining why we're talking about a tax increase. Now, I want to first say, how many of you have in the last 17 years have not received a pay raise? Raise your hand. Anybody? All right. The county has not increased the taxes ad valorem taxes in 17 years. All right. We are combined the lowest in the region, combined all taxes, that includes school board and everything else. And with whatever increase, and it is not, unlike you heard in the press, it is not approved yet. There are still 2 more public hearings, and people are still working on doing everything we can to try to lower the budget. But I wanted you to know that even if we go to the highest level that we have now advertised and you have received on your property tax evaluation, it will still be the lowest cumulative in the region. So I want you to know that. Now, in telling you that, we are also the county that has been selected as the #1 county in the state to raise a family, the #1 county in the state as livability, the #1 county in the state, or the #2 county in the state for young professionals. I think Leon beats us because of the state capital. #1, thank you, Robin, for public schools. #1, fire department has a class 1 rating. Only 4 fire departments in the state have a class 1 rating, which means that your property taxes, your property insurance should go down. Now, your property insurance company isn't going to tell you.
No.
You've got to tell them, hey, we're class 1 fire department. How much does that lower? And if they say nothing, they're lying. Okay? So get #1, and only, I think there's it's the 1% in the nation. 1% of fire departments have that class 1. We are second after the pandemic, coming through the pandemic, we are second in the state in work at home, being able to work at home. So there's so many things. Now, I will also tell you that we have I've already told you about the lowest ad valorem cumulative in the region, the lowest unemployment in the region, the lowest, the lowest employee to citizen from the county. Lowest employee to citizen. That means we are doing a lot more with a lot less. And I always love to say this to why I love my constituents so much. When we did a sales tax, everybody else fights and scripts and usually loses. Our people passed 72%, highest in the county, in the state. Then also they believe very strongly in the natural resources. We have 2 charter amendments, and those 2 were both to protect, in many ways because of the supermajority, our public conservation areas and public parks. 83% of you supported and passed that. Our libraries just got a major award for the best libraries in the state, and also our parks and recreation just got that award also. So let's talk about that. Those are things that bring value to your home, your biggest asset. Those are things that make you want to live here. Those are things that bring the quality of life to each and every one of us. So when you're talking about property taxes, I like to say property taxes are property value insurance. What that means is that if we didn't have the services we have, your property value wouldn't be where it is. And we pay for those services through property taxes. So when you do more with less, as we think we are doing, and we've tried to maintain this ad valorem tax probably longer than we should have, quite frankly. The fact of the matter is that we, because of the dollars that we received through the federal government and during the pandemic, we were able to kind of postpone this, but it's been coming for a while. Costs are higher especially in government, much higher, and you can only cut so much, citizens before employees before your services go down, and we have known this is coming for a while. We have known it, and so we had planned for it. But and if somebody says or ever talks about, well, you've got reserves, you've got this, in 2 years, we could probably balance the budget this year, and then next year we would be in the red. You always do something a year or two ahead. We should have done it sooner, but we're going to do it, what we think is about a year or two ahead of where there would have been a collapse. And this is for sustainability. So keep that in mind as I go through this. And Beatrice is now going to put, we have something up there. All right, you may not be able to see this real well, but this is the wheel. This is the wheel of where all the dollars are going. You see the big blue at the top? That's law enforcement. That's 22%. Then you go right next to the lighter blue, that's sheriff, 15%, sheriff, court, public safety. All of the blue on the right or the left-hand side is public safety. Then you look down at the white, and that's fire department. 68% of our budget is public safety. 68% of our budget. All the others are put in the rest of it. And then what's something, and this is not, we're not here to, as Grant and I have gone through many of these dog and pony shows before, so we respect one another, and in fact, Grant is probably, and I will tell you because I'm statewide, considered one of the best clerks in the state, and I'm proud to serve with him. But I do have to point out that everybody thinks that we, the commission, are in charge of the budget. So whenever you talk about property taxes, the clerk doesn't get questioned, the sheriff doesn't get questioned, the property appraiser doesn't get questioned. 65.5% of the budget is the constitutionals. We only have 33%. We cover everything else that isn't covered by the constitutionals. So when you talk about things like that, I like to say, in this world of Doge that we live in, right? That quite frankly, we're getting hit all the time, and I'll show you another slide about that in a minute. But in this world, we're very careful about what we're trying to spend. And it was unfortunate that in the year of the Doge, we have to sit here and look at increases in property taxes. But again, I want you to see that this year, the constitutionals combined are asking for 8.5% increase. 8.5% increase. If you look on the next slide, you can see at the bottom, all the way at the bottom, the progression of the percent of the adopted budget that has gone to the constitutionals. And today it's the highest it's ever been at 65.5%. So that means 34.5% is ours. Okay? Now, I want to show you the next slide. Remember, everybody, where I said that they had an 8.5% increase this year request? Look what we have. We have increased our budget 1.3% to 34.5%. That is less than the cost of living. That is less than what we all know. It's less than inflation. And if your boss came to you and said you were going to get a 1.3% increase in your overall budget, you would look at that person and say, I'm looking for another job. So, but that is what this man, in an answer to the question as to, have you done everything you possibly can to keep, understand that, we have been reaching into our reserves, and we understand that you cannot live with zero reserves. I mean, just look at the fact that we now have FEMA maybe gone. You know, we've used our enterprise reserves many times to make put money back in when we had the disasters. Unfortunately, we always knew FEMA would take 6 or more years to pay us back. So we had to use our enterprise reserves. Those enterprise reserves are usually in water and sewer to pay for the costs that we have, the pickup and everything else, while we're waiting for FEMA to come back. But I just want you to see it. And I'll put it in terms, we're getting $10 million new dollars this year. That's all that our revenue is raising this year. 10 million. That sounds like a lot, but you all both know that 10 million in a $1.2 billion budget isn't a lot. So we're getting 10 million new dollars. We, the 34.5%, are getting 2 million new dollars this year, approximately. So if we could have, and remember, we don't control the tax collector, the property appraiser, Grant, the sheriff, or the supervisor of elections. They ask for their own budget. There are some that we can say no, and it would, or reduce, and it would be the last answer. But the biggest, 56.5%, the sheriff can always go to the governor and say, they wouldn't give me what I wanted, give me what I wanted. And he could do that without ever consulting with us. The, excuse me, the tax collector has a formula that is done, so we can't really touch him. A little bit, is that correct, the tax collector? A little bit with the property appraiser, a little bit with Grant, a little bit with, but Grant can go to, you cannot. That's right. Everybody, I'm sorry, one of the few that can't. Everybody else pretty much can, except the, let me see, except the clerk is, I think, the only one, and then the rest of them have some means or some formula that they're paying for. So when we did it, so we did 2 million. The total budget, I think, of the constitutionals is about 20 million increase. So just there, even if they get everything that they've asked for, and none of them are not legitimate, they're legitimate, okay? They can justify every single dollar they're asking for. Doesn't mean we always have it to give, but they can justify every single dollar that they have. So theirs is around $20 million. We've increased 2, we had 10, do the math. And that's just to balance the budget this year, not go into the reserves, which, as I told you, we already had about a $20 million budget that we went into the reserves that we need to stabilize in the coming years. The next page is what I was talking about in the year of the Doge that I want you all to see. $73 million. 4.3% increase this year, but 31% increase last year. When I say this year, I mean next year's budget. $31 million, or 31% this year, is what the state requires on mandates, telling us we have to do this. We have no choice. These are things that they say you have to pay for. You have no choice. You have to, so we have to go, and when we're doing this budget, we have to go ahead and do these state mandates and county obligations. So the next line is kind of an idea of what this ad valorem tax increase, if it does go, or at what, this is the highest it could go, what it would do. If your property value is $550,000, you get an average savings for homeowners of about $200,000 from they Save Our Homes. So the assessed value is now down to $350,000. And this is an average, everybody's different, I know, but we're just doing an average home in Seminole County. Homestead is $50,000 off, so now the taxable value is $300,000. At $300,000, you then have, the current millage combined with the additional millage that we're talking about. it would be about $144 increase a year. $12 a month is what it would be. Now, that would also guarantee each and every one of you that's seeing programs, services that I have already indicated make Seminole County the best in the state to live in. So with all of that, I just wanted to let you know that it's not finalized. We're still working on it. And I will tell you, and I will just give you one example. We're doing everything we can to find cost savings. Everything we can. I will give you one example. You all know that we have a bus service in Central Florida known as Lynx. Lynx has, because of just the services they need to provide, they have told us that they were going to increase 15% over the next 5 years. Every year, 15%. We looked at that and we said, there's got to be a better way. So starting October, many of you have heard of Scout, our new microtransit. Let me tell you about that. Number one, we're keeping the main routes of Lynx. So what will happen is we're not going to take away the main routes, 436, 1792, and then go into Orange County in one place, and that's UCF, right across the street. But still, we're going into Orange County, UCF for the students. Okay, so the main services that have been provided by them, not the smaller routes, but the main services are going to be still intact. With that, with the paratransit still intact and the microtransit, it'll cost us the same or less than we're paying now. And the agreement we have with Freebie, which is the contract that we're doing on this microtransit, only increases 3% over the next year. So the amount of money that we're going to save on that is substantial. But let me just tell you a little bit about that. The service is 100 times better than Lynx. Right now, if you want to use Lynx, you have to get to their stop on a major highway and wait in the heat. This, you call up, and within a half an hour, it will pick you up at your house.
Wow.
If you do it by the app, you will save 50 cents on your trip. If you are a person there's 5 zones, we're in the Brantley zone. We're doing it by lakes, 5 zones. So it's the Altamont and the Southwest, okay? You stay in there and you go to any place there, it's $4. Any place, $4. However, if you're over 65, it's $2. If you're under, what age under 18? Under 18, it's $2. So the youth and the seniors will have a different discount. I told you about the contract, but all the money that comes in comes to us. So not only are we breaking even on the service, but we were also going to be able to get that and the advertising dollars. And I'm sure we'll have Morgan and Morgan all over them. But the advertising dollars that we will get for that will go to us. I'll just give you one more example. If you want to go to Hollerbox, okay, and you live in Altamont Springs, and you're a senior, it'll cost you $6.50 to get there, and then another $6.50 to get back, which is pretty much the tip that you would give at Hollerbox or less. But this program, I have a 93-year-old mother. She still drives. I went ooh too. I love it. But she usually just goes from her house to Publix, which is all small, streets. But she likes to get her hair and nails done in Hunt Club, right? Now she will be able to go there for $1.50. Okay? I'm feeling a whole lot better over going there, $1.50 than driving there. So these are just the things that make Seminole County different. And by the way, that'll be the the most comprehensive service in the state. Nobody else has this. Nobody else. Some cities do, small cities, but all of our cities and unincorporated will have this service starting October. And they're beautiful electric VW buses. Okay, small buses. Thank you very much, everybody.
It's not going away, but I'm going to turn it over to Grant now. And like Lee said, Grant is one of our constitutional officers. The other ones are the SOE, the property appraiser, the sheriff, and the tax collector.
Oh, thanks so much, Kathy. And how much time do I have?
15.
15. I'll set my clock on. And this is Jenny Spencer. She's my comptroller director. So I plan to move pretty quickly because we have a lot of information. And then I'm going to let Jenny talk about some of the technicalities of our office. First of all, by the way, first of all, thank you for being involved in local government. You know, I think it's just great. We need more people keeping an eye on things and questioning and fucking keeping track of what's going on. I appreciate the elected officials being out here too. And staying in tune. You know, sometimes we get elected and we get out of touch, and I always try to stay in touch because we represent you, right? Mm-hmm. On your desk, and I'll talk about these documents in a little bit, we have a couple things. One is our Citizens Financial Report. This is something I started doing a few years ago, and I'll talk about this later because there's some information in here. Feel free to take that home if you need more. We have them, and I'll also show you where it's online. And I also have a property fraud alert card. It's our free property fraud alert system. How many people have signed up for that here? All right, we got some folks that need to sign up. So you can just scan your phone over the QR code. If you don't know how to do that, you can find a 15-year-old kid who, or your grandson, they know how to do it. Or you can just go to our website, SeminoleClark.org. If all else fails, just give us a call. We'll help you out. But you register your name or your business name. If anything gets recorded in Seminole County, could be a deed, a mortgage, lien, that type of stuff. You get a link to the document, you can verify that it is legitimate and somebody is not forging your name. Just real quick on the clerk's office, we have 5 constitutional duties. We are the clerk to the boards, where we keep all the county commission records. We keep track of what the commissioners do, make that available to the public, every minutes, and keep track of all the documents. We're also the recorder, which I just mentioned. All property records go through our office. Marriage licenses, things like that. We also do passport service. We also are the clerk to the board, the clerk of the court. So any type of access to the courts, court records, we keep all the all the court records. We work with judges, law enforcement, sheriff, public, state attorney, public defender, goes on and on, Department of Revenue, a lot going on there. And then we're also the comptroller. So we have a checkbook and savings account for the county commission, which I'm going to have Jenny talk about some of the details here. And I want to show you the tools that you can do to just watch what goes on with our tax dollars. Because tax dollars really represent freedom, right? If we have to work for $1, if the government takes half of it, it's taking half of our freedom. It's taking all of the dollars, we have no freedom. You're basically a slave there because you're working for nothing. And then nobody works, right? Because the government took all your money. So there's a balance in there where you want to find the right mix of government services plus the ability to take care of your family. So that's my thoughts on it. So first of all, I want to touch about a couple things. If you want to sit down for a minute, you can. Okay. So one of the things I just want to do a definition of budget versus actuals. Because when Tim checks, and he does a great job, there he is over there, with the county budget, they're looking at projections. So I was looking at the definitions online the other day and talked about budgeting is estimating government revenues from taxes, fees, and other sources, and deciding on the expenditures necessary to achieve the government's body's policy objectives within a specific year. Usually budget year is 1 year. Now, on our side, what we deal with is actuals. And actuals are government accounting, which differ from personal accounting or private accounting with business accounting. So government accounting is a process of recording and managing all financial transactions incurred by government entities, focusing on transparency, accountability, and the effective stewardship of public resources. The primary objective is to provide clear information to taxpayers and oversight bodies about public resources and how they are allocated and utilized. So what I'd like to do is give you an overview of these tools that we have for you, because you're all smart people. If you want to go see what actually is going on with actual spending, you can just go to our website, which I'll show you in a second here. And then I'm going to have Ginny talk about some of the details as far as like the annual comprehensive financial report. So if I go real quickly here, I can work on it. Yeah. So if you go to SeminoleClerk.org, there are several things on here where you can take a look. So first of all, we're going to revamp this, clean it up a little bit, make it a little more modern, hopefully. You can go over to departments here. And if you come down to, hopefully you can see this, we have the county comptroller, but right here is the citizen's financial report, which you have on your table. And you'll see all of them, and they're always a year behind, right? Because we're taking the last year's financials and they're being audited. So this is a simplified document, and a couple pages of interest, might be page 11 in there, just shows you the overall actual government revenues. And then if you go to page 17, it'll show you the actual amount of money that is invested. So we have healthy levels in those. So you can see those services there. It's all totally easy to get to. We also have the annual comprehensive financial reports. So this version here is a much simplified version than our annual comprehensive financial report. So this is about 256 pages of audited things, which I know a few pages, but Jenny knows all of them backwards and forwards, so I'll have to talk about that in a second. So there's another tool you can use. We also have, if you come back to the home page, a new service that other clerks have been putting in. Orange County has one, Pinellas County, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, various levels of sophistication. But this is a new feature that we have down here. It's under the quick links, and it's the Spending in the Sunshine Open Checkbook. And this is, we're going to keep making improvements to this. You can see two things here, makes government totally transparent. Right now we have the Board of County Commissioners, plus my office as well. You can come over here, you can search. Right now, there's a lot of data on here, so you have to be able to search by month right now. We're going to be working on that where you can download the whole fiscal year. But you can come in, and it's pretty, first of all, we have an info page here for the definitions of what government finance is. So if you're not familiar with it, you can take a look. You can come down to different fund names. You can see the different departments with the funding sources, which is very handy. You can come over here and search through the whole month by a vendor name or a category, and it will show you that. So you can come up here, you can go back. We have this going back about, let's see here, about 4 different fiscal years. So you can go back in time as well. So you can also download this into Excel spreadsheets. It's a very handy tool to see how our money is being spent. So that is one tool for you. The other thing I'd like to show on our homepage is the county investments. So if you go back up to departments, you can have investments right here. This is the monthly investment report, which we make transparent, and it'll show you how much money is currently invested. It's 800.
So the continuing disclosure report Grant brought up, when the county issues debt, the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, along with the clerk, signs an agreement that they will continue to provide information to the market, because the bonds are usually sold on the secondary market. And that's what the continuing disclosure report is. So the Comptroller's Office works really closely with Disclosure Council. We also ensure compliance with any debt covenants on any of the water and sewer debts that have certain metrics that have to be met. We ensure those metrics are met. There's certain filings that have to be done, and the timelines are outlined by the Securities Exchange Commission of when certain things have to be done. So we ensure we adopt policies and procedures to ensure we adhere to those deadlines. So our role as comptroller is to pay all the county's bills. As Grant mentioned, what we do is based on actual. We process payments for all county employees. We process payments for all vendors and all contracts. We also record all the county's revenues, and there's various revenue sources, property taxes, charges for services, grants, both federal and state grant. So we're recording all the monies coming in and all the monies going out. We produce all financial reports, so all the reports Grant was pointing to earlier, those are prepared by the Office of the Comptroller's Office. It includes this this comprehensive financial report. The reason it's called comprehensive because it's not just the Board of County Commissioners. This report includes all 5 constitutional officers, so we get their audited statements from each constitutional officer and consolidate it with the county. And the government standard says in order to have a true representative of the operations of the county as a whole, those numbers have to be combined. So they are combined of the sheriff, and in back of the report are the individual statements for each constitutional officer. But it's a very involved process because it's not just combining numbers. There are several standards that we have to comply with to ensure that we're compliant, and our work gets audited by an independent certified public accountant. Once the work is audited, the auditors issue an opinion on the county's compliance, both in financial reporting as well as compliance with federal and state. There are several rules to the Auditor General, statutory rules that we have to ensure compliance with, such as the investments. If there's as a governmental entity, there's certain investments that government cannot invest in. Why? Because the objective is to protect taxpayer dollars. And so the auditors audit to ensure compliance with those standards, those statutory requirements as well. As comptroller, we have a responsibility to ensure that Grant's fiduciary duties are effectively carried out. That includes adopting policies to make sure things are done in a timely manner, and those policies have established internal controls for preventive, detection. Ideally, we want to have procedures that will prevent things from occurring, anomalies from occurring. But if somehow it slips through the cracks and something abnormal occurs, we have enough internal controls established that those controls will detect it in a timely manner to give us time to correct it. So by the time the auditors come in, they're not discovering it. And the sound internal control is how it should be structured, that we're discovering as we're going through our processes throughout the year, and not the auditor is discovering it, because then that would be really bad, and it would affect the type of opinion the county gets in the annual comprehensive financial report. When the county goes out to issue debt or refinance debt, the underwriters are always looking for this document, because this document has been audited by an independent person of the county, not the clerk's office or the county, someone independent that can say, yes, if the county said they had $300 million, we can attest that they in fact did bring in $300 million, and we substantiated the majority of those dollars. So that's one of the things that gets audited. The Citizens Financial Report, also known as a popular annual financial report, is something Grant instituted when he got elected, and he said, this report is really is great, but it's too massive. The average citizen can't understand it. And he says, Jenny, I would like for you to look into this PAFR. And so we began our research, in fiscal year 2018, which is a year after he took office, was the first fiscal year that we began to produce that. And this report actually goes to the Government Finance Officers Association in Chicago, and they go through, there's certain things that have to be included. They go through to ensure that those things are included, and they provide a certificate. Similarly, the ACFR, or Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, goes to the Government Finance Officers Association, and they issue a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. And so underwriters, when the county is looking to issue new debt or refinance debt, they're looking for that certificate, because that tells them that as a governmental entity, we value transparency, we value things being done in accordance with the accounting standards, because that's one of the things they look for. This report goes to Chicago, and it gets submitted at the end of March, and early October, we're getting the results of their, there's a very comprehensive checklist that they go through to make sure all the standards that are required, all the disclosures that should be there are there, and things are where they should be. And a lot of the numbers have to articulate. They're not just in the financial statements, but they're in the notes of the financial statements, and the numbers have to articulate, and they check all of that. So the auditors don't prepare this document. The comptroller's office prepares it, and we provide it to the auditors. They audit it, and then they provide us comments on feedback on whether or not something needs to be elaborated on, or if we need to explain something further for them to really understand what's going on. And so as a result of this, we work with all county departments in order to produce this. We work very closely with the budget department. We work with the county attorney's office in order for this document to be finalized and produced. And overall, our objective as comptroller is to protect your tax dollars and to ensure that the county's finances are transparent, honest, and well managed. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Jenny. And Your team did a great job. By the way, this report, both these reports have been winning financial awards. When the state of Florida were the 5th highest amount of rewards by the government, GOFA. Does that stand for again?
Government Finance Officers Association.
Government Finance Officers Association. So we're the 5th most rewarded comptroller office in the state of Florida.
Wow.
So bottom line, if you look at all these documents, thank you, the county is in a really good fiscal health. It's really good fiscal health right now. One of the things I want to point out, because I know the constitutional has been mentioned a bit, and I kind of get lumped into it, but out of curiosity, I took a look at the clerk's office. The clerk's office has a lot of challenges. I think Deanna knows about it. And part of the problem is about 75, it's kind of been decreasing over the years, but 70% say of our office is funded by fees, right? So we collect so much off of traffic tickets, so much off of divorce, so much for marriage license. And on the recording side, it's the same thing. It's set by a fee that was put in law 20 years ago. So we're under extremely difficult squeezes on our side. And out of curiosity, because if you think about inflation, $30 to get married 18 years ago is not the same as $30 today. Actually, $30 18 minutes ago. It's not the same as it is. So out of curiosity, I said, Jenny, run some statistics here. Go back and look at total clerk revenue in 2006. That was before the whole property thing fell apart. So we did. And if you take all the revenue we actually brought across the counter or received from the county, it was $19.9 million, so about $20 million. I said, how much did we collect last year? County, non-court, court, how much did we receive? 18 years later, it was $20,600,000.
Wow.
And was it 18 years? It increased by $800,000 total revenue. So if there's anybody who knows how to do more with less, it's the clerk's office. It's throughout the state.
Very true.
We have about 70 fewer employees, and we're providing more services than ever before. I looked at my payroll the other day, and it was 176. When I got elected, and we had a really scaled down office back then, because there were a lot of empty positions. There were a lot of empty positions. It was 178. You go back to the peak around 2006, it was about 250 employees. So we're doing more with less and still providing more services. So I say that, as a business owner, I'm always looking at ways we can do things better, and always believe there's a way we can do things better. But I just want to throw that out there, that the clerk's office, especially when you compare us to other offices such as Lake County, we receive $3 million less per year than they do. And in similar sized counties such as Sarasota, was it $12 million less, $6 million? I think it's $6 million less. So we're doing things very efficiently in our office. But bottom line, if you want to find any information on money, just find out what the actuals are. We're here for you. We are your taxpayer watchdog, and happy to provide any information, any report. And if there's something you can't find, just send us a public records request. If you want to know what's going on with a specific tax or fund or vendor, that sort of thing, we are here for you. So I just want to make you know that government's transparent, and we work for you. Thank you so much.
We'll take questions from the audience in just a minute, but I have a question for really both of you. It's just something that is, I always wonder about. When we talk about this millage rate change as being on property tax, how much of that is residential versus business? You know, and are we receiving as much as we should get from the businesses that profit from being in our community? So.
That's more than me. So everybody can hear me,
But I will use this anyway. Okay. So everybody understands, you understand Save Our Homes, right?
Yep.
You all know that your property, home property cannot increase by more than 3% if it's homesteaded. All right. In commercial, it's 10%. So it is justifiably important that you have a good balance, a very good balance, a mix. One of the reasons that when I was a city commissioner and mayor in Altamont Springs, we worked very hard to have a very high percentage of commercial. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time where people were passing through. You had the mall, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact of the matter is the mix there kept the property taxes down. Now, if you live in Winter Springs and you practically have no commercial and it's all homes and residential, then you have a different mix, and it usually means you have a higher property tax. So it is important that you have a very good mixture of both residential, multifamily, which, by the way, multifamily, non-condo, but apartments, they don't have that. They're on the 10%. So they pay more in taxes than do single-family residential. So you keep that in mind when you're doing that. And so you look for a good mix, and when you have that good mix, you usually have lower property taxes.
Thank you. And Lee, if you could kind of go up by Grant.
Sure.
If anybody has a question, I'll come around and give you the mic. Are there any questions?
Small room. Hi, Lee. I don't think you find more eager boosters for Seminole County than this room. I mean, we all love it here. But we've done a lot of, we go into the assisted living facilities and help re-register them or help them with their voting needs because so many of them can't drive. Is that considered a business or residential? Just following up on what you were talking about.
It's a business. It's a business. It's a, whether, there are some businesses that are not taxed because they're not for profit, like that big hospital. Right now. Or churches. And synagogues. Right? In churches and things like that. But yes, if it's for-profit business, it is at the 10%.
This question, I guess, is also for Lee. So the county is also raising the utility tax and the gas tax. So talk a little bit about how that impacts the budget and the rationale for doing those things.
And I will tell you that from the very beginning that I first got on here, I looked at it and I said, why are we not at the very highest level there? And I will tell you, because, I don't know why prior, and I will tell you that because we have a very fiscally conservative commission, they didn't want to raise anything until they absolutely had to, and Tim told us if you don't, you're going to go in the red. But the utility tax, every city is at 10%, except one, Altamont Springs is at 8%. Everyone, so we were at 4%. Okay, so we're just going to where all the cities are right now. And this is the way I look at utility tax. It's a user fee. It's a user fee. And in my opinion, if the more it costs, the more you say, the more you're going to conserve. So we're at the same level now as the cities. And I believe that would give us something like, when it's finally done, $13 million. It'll give us a little bit less because it's only 9 months this year. The gas tax, on the other hand, counties around us already have that level of gas tax. And have you seen them be less than us or us being less than them in gas? No. They don't judge, or they don't do the cost of per gallon by the gas tax. They do it by the market. And so I just did my own. So I went to Orange County, Lake County, Volusia County. Our we're not saving 5 cents on gas. It's the same amount. So and it's less than I think when we did the whole thing on a gallon of gas, when you're talking about it 1% or something like that. So that again is another user fee, and that has been flat because remember, people like me have electric cars now, so you're using gas is not being used as much. But also remember, just like the sales tax, the gas tax will be used about 30% of people outside of the county, the people that are coming into the county. So that is not going to be, you'll not see that at the pump.
I have a question for Grant, and then I'll go to somebody else here. Grant, you talked about the income that comes into your office that comes off of fees and so on. But who sets those? What latitude do you have to increase that? Got to share me.
It's the state that legislators do, and it's frozen in time. Now, yeah, because if you look at weddings, I mentioned were $30. We do collect a lot more off of divorces. So, somebody's not happy, send them in. But it's a huge problem because the fundamentals of math are just, you can't break them. It's a law, right? So at some point, you just run out of money, and most of our expenditures go for personnel, and so that has been a challenge.
You mentioned that the state had increased mandates for the budget, yet we see from the state that there is a move to reduce property taxes for homeowners. So where's the difference going to come in?
We have no idea. Okay, so let me just say, and I'm going to expand a little bit on what Grant said. The last time the fees were increased in the legislature was right after the Great Recession that we had, and with the real estate in 2007-8, and we had to balance our budget, and that's the last time that the legislature even looked at the fees and all that. But let's be honest, when they say they're giving you a tax break, they're just making it more difficult for us. They have never, and I was a legislator for 18 years. They have never cut their own budget. I was appropriations, chair. And I will tell you that when it got to the level, when I left in 2010, it was about 60 billion. What is it today? 120 billion. The state. Okay, that's why I said property tax is really property value insurance. Okay, so I don't know where they're going to get the money. And forget about us and public safety. Look at the schools. Who's going to pay for the school? Almost all of their dollars come from property tax. Who's going to pay for the schools? The fact of the matter is, this is and I'm sorry to say, a propaganda thing. We're going to cut property taxes. No, you're not going to cut taxes. You're going to make the local governments have to do the bad job, the difficult job of finding money, out of, and my God, they talk about sales tax. Do you want to go in and pay 25 cents on sales tax? Because it's not a 1-for-1. Because the people up north will go to Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi to buy their stuff. And the people that have discretionary income will buy it online or some other way, or won't buy it at all because they don't have to. And so, once again, regression, the poor are paying the majority of it. So, I'm sorry.
So, in a minute, we have to, otherwise I will forget. So we do have our 50-50 And I'm very happy to say that it's $153 that we got here. And
That's
I'm going
unusual.
to give it to this big, tall, silent man who's been very polite and stayed here this whole time. If you would like to pick the winner.
Tim will be here to answer questions. So long.
Okay, here is the winner. 823-854. 854. Yay!
Who won?
So, Leslie, let me give you this, and you can ask your question, and that will be the last question.
Keep it for the league, please. Keep it for the league. Thank you.
First of all, I thank you all for coming today. It's very wonderful to have you here. I know you're busy people. Tim Jacks over here, who was very kind to communicate with me online, I had asked him about mandates from the state, and he sent me this wonderful little information page. What can we do? Does the state ever fulfill these unfunded mandates? I see it went down from 225 million to 154 million. How did that happen? And can we help with that by writing?
I don't know what happened, and to be fair, some of the mandates we would have done anyway. I mean, some things are important to take care of, our services, but they mandate them, and so we put them in the mandates. But the fact of the matter is that it's really a function of that and what they're doing, where they're telling you not just the unfunded mandates, but they're telling us what to do all the time. They're taking away more and more rights, which if you look at any survey, says the people at the local level is where you get trusted more than the people at the state, which is more than you get people at the federal government. Right. But I'm going to tell you the honest truth. This all started in 8 is Enough. I mean, I could see people coming into the legislature after that had less experience, less knowledge, and cared more about gaining power quickly than they did about learning the process and the procedures. And it really wasn't something that was our it wasn't Tallahassee that was the problem. Less than 20% of the people stayed beyond 8 years. Okay? It was Washington that we were trying to stop from the people that were serving there 40, 50 years in one position and never moving. It's really the question of right now you have folks who think that, and I'm a Republican. Republicans used to be, less government and local government is the best government. Well, now let's get everything up to Tallahassee and we'll tell them what to do, and we have the presumptions and all the other stuff. Preemptions, I'm sorry. I said preemptions. You know what I meant. Preemptions.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. There is no institutional knowledge. Right. And everything is being conducted by a power pyramid at the very top. So when I was there, they used to call the Senate 40 hot air balloons bumping into one another. Okay. And we all had a say. We really did. Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. And I started, if you remember, in the minority when the Republicans were in the minority. And the fact of the matter is, what happened is the Democrats got so where they felt that they were so empowered that they lost touch with the people. And I think that's the same thing that's happening to the Republicans right now. They are becoming so powerful that they've lost touch. They feel that they're entitled. They think that they can control everything from Tallahassee, and they're forgetting that we have 67 counties and 400 plus cities, and each one of them are individual entities and not one size fits all.
Thank you very much. That is a great way to end this discussion. I thank you so much for coming and bringing your whole entourage. I do want to remind everybody that Monday is September 1st, so please look for your newsletter. We'll have all the information of what's coming up in September. We are still continuing to do our lunch versus evening hot topics, so September is an evening, and it's on our First Amendment the rights under fire right now in 2025, and we'll have a panel discussion of experts on freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. And then we also have, for fun times, because September has 5 Mondays, we'll have our 5th Monday. It'll be at Cafe Murano again, 5:30 to 7:30. So look for all that information in the newsletter. And once again, thank you so much for coming.